So hello and good morning. It is Friday the 28th of July 2023. My name is Steve Pugh and I run a startup called Roadmap MBA. And what we basically do, our mission is to make business education accessible to 5 billion people worldwide. Though essentially we believe that you can really help empower communities and help individuals and families grow, learn and develop through equal access to education. That essentially for a very long time, business education was held behind really expensive paywalls. That essentially it kept the rich people rich, and it was really hard for regular people to learn the skills which would actually help them run more successful businesses, get promoted in their careers, and actually just help them fulfill their potential. So we exist both as a physical book and app and website and platform to basically help anyone in the world, regardless of your background, income, education level, or even time, to actually help you learn, grow and develop the skills that you want to learn to help you grow your business or career. It's all completely free. We do have some paid options which actually help fund everything else. And essentially, if you're in the position where you want to take it maybe a bit more seriously and invest in your education, what that does, that actually allows us to invest back and help thousands, if not millions of other people that otherwise aren't quite in the position to do that yet. So my name's Steve Pugh. I'm the founder of Roadmap MBA. I'm a chartered mechanical engineer by background, and for the past kind of 10, 12 years, my job has been to grow other people's companies as a management consultant. I set this up a few years ago now. We're in 56 countries, and as part of the kind of the business and what we do live streams, podcasts and that kind of thing as well. So on a Friday morning, what I try to do is talks about some interesting concepts that we'll clip up and go onto YouTube as well. So I pick stuff that's kind of happened this week. I share some of our journey as well. But then likewise, if you check out roadmapmba.com, you can learn completely for free. Or if you check us out on socials, especially on YouTube, all of this also gets clipped up into different kind of 4 or 5 minute videos, which you can watch whenever you want as well. So one of the things that I love to do on the live stream, also if you get in touch and drop me a message, it should pop up on the screen about here. Not so much if you're on TikTok, which I can't help with, but actually for anyone else, if you kind of get in touch, it should pop up on the screen. And basically it's a great way to just say hello and interact as well. I'd love to know basically any wins that you've had this week, what you're up to on Friday, any plans for next week, that kind of thing as well. So the topics I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to talk about the accelerator program that I'm on and just a bit of an update to do with that. A really interesting thing to do with leadership, which I watched a video from a guy who was former CIA called Andrew Bustamante about, are you a builder or a runner, which I thought was a really interesting concept because I'm definitely a builder and I wanted to talk about that. One thing that I think could be quite an interesting topic to talk about is all about moonshots. So basically, if you run a startup, it's true for regular businesses as well. But when you have the ability to scale as you do when you sell an app or a service or that kind of thing, it's more applicable. But it's almost why I believe that you should go for the 100x opportunities versus the one-off, sales, and also why that's kind of important for what we're doing. Something from actually our Tuesday night session, our 8 p.m. session. It's actually about the guilt being self-employed. Do you ever feel it? Do you ever feel that you should be working more, harder elsewhere, and how that's normal? It affects me, it affects Vina, it affects a lot of different people. But likewise, one of the things that we love to do on the live stream is just kind of call out stuff and talk about stuff which might affect you and it affects other people, but people don't always talk about it. So it's kind of just calling out some of the real life kind of stuff as well. And then last but not least, I'm going to talk about challenging yourself and actually why that's really important. And one of the things that I've been working towards that actually, I think it's really worked out well for me. So I'm going to jump into the first one about the leadership. I'm going to jump into the first one. It's about the accelerator program that I'm part of. So if you remember back in February, I went to a conference at the Excel Centre in London, and it was a big ed tech conference, so all about education technology. And I met people from South Korea from an organization called Doha, and they had raised a lot of money and were looking to support a small number of startups that wanted to make social impact, positive social impact in the world in the ed tech kind of space. It was basically, they went out as an open call for people to apply for the program. worldwide, they only actually picked 10 people to be on their first program to kind of launch the concept. Unfortunately, Roadmap MBA was one of the selected 10. It's been great to kind of get to know more of the other kind of startups and what they do and the change that they're looking to see in the world. But actually, it's been really interesting because, for one, often when you build a business, a lot of it is actually in your own head. So it's almost where, you have an idea of what you want to execute. You kind of have an idea of what you sell. But often if you have someone who's external to challenge you and say, well, explain that to me. Why does this make sense? What if this happens? What if that happens? Is actually, we had the first session of that type on Wednesday, and it was super useful. And actually just the chance to explain what you do, be challenged about why it's important, why should people care, but actually it really helps you guide your way forward. So one of the big changes that I actually made yesterday was that when you speak about your business and what you do, it can be quite difficult to articulate exactly what it is and what makes you special. But often, especially if you distill it down to a website and people that discover you for the first time, often your H1 headings, your main key hitter that people both see when they land on the website, but also it's what Google often uses to help rank you when people search for a certain term. What we did have, which is what you have on the front cover of the book, was real world business education, because the idea was that it was real world, practical business business education. But I kind of knew that that didn't really hit the spot, and I probably played with 8, 10 different options, and I was just struggling to find something which both ticked the, this is a high quality product that you can trust, but then likewise the social good element to it that I tried adding more words in and it didn't really kind of quite fit. And it was yesterday I kind of twigged that actually at the core of what we're looking to do in making business education accessible to basically everyone in the world, and you can learn completely for free, is it's the ethics behind it. So one, we kind of made the change to just become ethical business information. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me today. Ethical business education is essentially our main key topic. The other thing that's really important to do is that when you're looking at your promotion and SEO for the business, if you're part of a search term which has a billion other, bigger competition with more established authorities, it's very difficult to break through. And if you can find a term or a niche which actually is less popular, so hopefully ethical business education has less traffic than others, but hopefully I can get a higher search ranking that I would never ever get on the front page of Google if you search for online business education. There's just too much competition. So it's trying to find your niche, and it was just something that I did yesterday as part of the business. But actually just talking about and explaining what we do, how we do it, why we do it to people that are independent was really useful. Even if I came up with the answers myself, it was still a great kind of part of the process. So we're kind of 2-3 weeks into the accelerator program now. I'm actually really enjoying it. A lot of it is actually, it just forces you to think differently. But actually that's often what you need if you work for yourself. It can be difficult, excuse me, it can be difficult to really figure out every day, what do I do? What's the next step forward? And almost having the motivation that almost being on a program, it keeps you honest, it keeps you working hard. And actually it'll just help you hopefully keep iterating and improving. Well, that's the hope anyway. But as we progress and stuff, I will keep you updated as well. What time are we on? So we're on 9:09 here on Friday. I'd love to know how people's weeks have been. If your week has been as busy as mine. I had a big acquisition. I helped sell a company last week, which completed, and that took over my life for months and months and months. So being honest, I kind of wanted to have a bit of a break. So I'm kind of wound down some of the other podcasts and stuff that we normally have going on just to get some rest and kind of get back up to speed. But we will be kind of ramping those up as well at some point. But I'd love to know how your week and stuff has been as well. Okay. So a really interesting topic which I discovered on YouTube, I think this was on Monday. So I watch quite a lot of stuff on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff that I'm interested in. And there's a guy that I follow who's called the Everyday Spy. His name's Andrew Bustamante. And actually what he does, he talks about business related stuff, but also the bits that I was really interested in was some of the kind of the spy related craft stuff that he spent a long time in the CIA. And a lot of what they do is interaction with people and its relationships. And his viewpoint on the world, I think, is quite interesting. And essentially he did a range of 15-minute kind of podcasts, which I think this one was broadcast like a year ago, but I only discovered it this week. And they're on different topics. And one of his ones that I listened to earlier in the week was actually different styles of leadership and how in the CIA, they often classify different people into different groups, and they classify you either as a builder or a runner. And essentially what they're looking to do is that if you have an organization, it's how do you get the best use out of your people? How do you have the most efficient process to really help you run the best business or organization you can? And one way that the CIA do that is that if you have a particular skill set and you're really good at this, they put you in that area and that's what you focus on. But actually, if you're not as good in a different area, they don't ask you to be a master of all of the topics and therefore be average at all of them. What they try and do is find a specialism and almost keep you in that area. So when I was listening to Andrew talk about this topic, essentially builders are people who love creating stuff. If you give them a problem, they will come up with all the solutions to do it. They are often entrepreneurs that you see an opportunity or a challenge, and what excites you is trying to figure out and solve the challenge to actually build something, and that is what gets you excited, and almost that's what you're really excellent at. A runner is perhaps maybe slightly less creative than the builder. It's a different skill set, but what they will happily do and do extremely well is take what someone else has built and operate it and just keep operating at a very high level. And actually they just in theory run the business, run the operation, and they will actually run it better than the builder ever would. Part of that is because builders often get bored with doing regular day-to-day the same stuff over and over, that actually their interest wanes and they're just not as good at operating as runners. And what I thought was really interesting was actually, I'm a builder. What I've really loved when I've built the roadmap and came up with the book and the app and the logos and all the stuff that we do, that excites me, that gets me happy. And actually, I really enjoy the process of figuring things out and creating it and putting it out into the world. And actually, the truth is that after all of this was created, we had the books, the websites, the live streams, I had the studio, my enthusiasm did drop off a little bit. And it was because the business had got into a different phase where essentially I'd become a runner. I'd just started to operate what I'd built. And what I thought was really interesting was that what Andrew said really resonated with me, because it's true that I am definitely a builder. And since basically I kind of figured that out, with some of the partnerships that we've got with charities and a few other people that we're starting to grow and develop, I've now started to build stuff again. We've started to tweak the website, but actually build a whole new foundation course, which is more of an entry level process for people that might be new to business or careers. But actually I'm creating again, and basically I love it. I love doing it. And I just wanted to share the topic because actually you might resonate either with, you love building stuff, you love creating stuff, and actually that's what lights you up. Or you might be less fussed about doing this, but actually you love operating things and finding efficiencies, and you're just really good and happy at doing this. And Andrew's learning of what the CIA does is basically to find the best of both worlds, to basically give the builders the project to build, and once they've built it, let someone else run it. But then likewise, if things start to go wrong, you bring the builder back in to fix the problem and then let the runner take over again to operate as you move forward. And I think often Andrew's point is that leadership is often described as that you have to, for some reason, be good at everything. And almost that's the benchmark about leadership. And if you're a good leader in the workplace or in the corporate life, when actually people that are very good, like the CIA, at understanding human intelligence and how you operate a project, is often to clarify, to understand where you sit And for instance, with me, the case would be, is I'm brilliant at building the business and solving the problems, but actually operating it day to day, I probably actually should hand that off to someone else to do on my behalf. And it was just a really interesting mindset that I hadn't actually seen anywhere else. If you check out Andrew Bustamante, if you search for Everyday Spy CIA on YouTube, it'll probably pop up. He does some really interesting stuff. I love a lot of the interesting stories about his operations and things in the background and things that he's allowed to talk about since he left the service. But actually, a lot of what he talks about is also relevant to business and careers as well. If you catch this on YouTube, my name is Steve Pugh. Please kind of like and subscribe. We cover everyday business and education content to help you think your business or career and actually help you learn and improve. And if you check out roadmapmba.com, we have a completely free business course to help you grow, learn and develop as well. Okay. So something else that I think was really interesting for me is that I had my 40th birthday. This could be a midlife crisis, but I'm just saying. So I had my 40th birthday about a month ago. So it was June 2023. And going up to that point, obviously I'd had the business, I've been doing quite well and I was relatively happy. But one of the things that I do in my own personal time outside of work is that I play basketball, and I've played for 25, 30-ish years now, and I play at a decent amateur level. I really enjoy playing, and I play in a regional league here in the northeast of England. But one of the things that I kind of realized is that I play as part of a bigger club, and within the overall league you have lots of different clubs. But as you have in most countries, you have your national team. So in England we have Team GB, who are the Olympic team for everything that we do. But also for certain sports, so you have football, basketball and or others, you also have Masters League. So basically for people who are over a certain age group, so for basketball you have over 40s, over 45s, over 50s, you actually have what is essentially, it's a GB Masters basketball team. And one of the things that I saw on Facebook is that some of the people in the league that I play in actually play for the GB Masters basketball teams for over 50s, over 55s, men's and women's. And they put on Facebook, and basically it was them in their GB kit. And I can't lie, it looked really cool. It was a life goal, a life ambition, that you see stuff that I was never anywhere near good enough at a regular age group to reach that level. But the truth is, as you kind of get a little bit older, other things like fitness actually come into play a massive difference. That one of the things that I wanted to do, and actually I've since kind of set myself the goal to, is actually to look at, it's called FIMBA. So, but anyway, it's the GB Masters basketball team for the over 40s is actually now a personal goal that I'm working towards for my own personal development and enjoyment. But actually what it means is that I'm really enjoying my basketball so much more than I ever was before, because I've got a goal which is out of reach, it's very difficult to reach, but actually it's given me a reason to train and get fit and look after myself a bit better and stretch. But also I've started to play in a veterans league. So veterans for basketball is over 35. But actually, so every Wednesday I've been playing in this veterans league in the region. But actually, because I've got this goal to aim for, I'm not just playing for the sake of playing. I'm playing because I want to almost prove myself. Am I good enough to play at that level? And touch some wood, we're 4 games into the season now. We've won 3, lost 1, and I'm second top scorer in the league. I dropped 27 on Wednesday, which is, I think it's the highest I've ever scored. But I genuinely think that actually having that goal to aim for, which is out of reach, is very difficult to reach, has just given me the motivation to really help push on. And it'd be interesting to know for yourself or for your business, do you set goals? What are they? And actually, have they worked for you to really kind of give you that motivation to help reach that next kind of step? So basically, the other thing that I've almost found is that if you set really big, ambitious goals, to be honest, it's almost just showing up, going out for that run, going for that training session, making that sales call, whatever your goal is, just turning up and completing the action on the course. We call them lead actions. that's also something to be proud of. That for me, I don't mind if I never get into the squad, I never play for your country. But actually, as long as I've tried my best, that's a really important one. And then likewise, on Monday last week, I had the opportunity to go and train with some of the Newcastle Eagles players. They came to a session which was on Monday, which I love to be part of. And these guys are like exceptionally good players. And the irony is that I just wanted to fit in and not stand out as not being at that level. Yes, of course, they're a lot better. But the point is just showing up and competing and doing your best. For me is really important. That actually I'd take that. I don't mind if I never actually reach the goal. But simply having something to aim for me personally, has actually just give me a new lease of life. It could perhaps be a midlife crisis, but actually at least it's a one which is helping my kind of fitness and overall well-being and happiness. That now with the business, I've hopefully found a level where I've got a good business life. I enjoy creating something, but also I'm not working too hard that I don't have time for my own personal hobbies as well. But the ones that I am going for are really kind of big, audacious goals that I'd be super proud if I achieve. But actually, I don't mind if I don't as well. If you catch this on YouTube or any of our other socials, my name's Steve Pugh. I run a business course called Roadmap MBA. We have users in 56 countries now, and it's all about making business education accessible to 5 billion people. So if you want to check it out, you can learn completely for free. And yeah, it's roadmapmba.com. Okay. There we go. I'm just going to have a quick cup of coffee. So if you run a business, and especially a startup, or this would also be true if you were a musician or an artist or a painter or whoever, I wanted to talk about moonshots. So for instance, I'll talk about me as an example. So I run a business course. We are here to help make business education accessible to 5 billion people. We have free plans where you can learn completely for free. There's no ads, there's no catches, whatever. But we also help train corporates and businesses and individuals for a relatively small fee for what you get. But essentially, our lowest price is about £300, on most is about 600, and we have different packages in the middle. But the one of the things that I wanted to talk about is that on a base level, we could target one-off sales that as a business owner, I could approach people and actually ask them, would you be interested in buying a course? And that would be traditional sales to run a traditional small business to earn income to kind of make it work. But one of the things that's interesting about what I do is that the business education market is one of the most competitive markets in the world. You have literally billion-dollar companies spending hundreds of millions on advertising, SEO, everything else. So I know that I can't compete on that level. So one of the things that I've been spending a lot of time on is looking at partnerships and conversations and things that I could do which basically will help me get a 100x return on the conversation to get me to a sustainable level where I can compete rather than looking at one-off sales. Does that make sense? So it's almost where a 1x action, so for instance, with my time is largely limited. So it's Friday and it's 9:24. I could spend the next 8 hours on the phone or email or direct message to individual people to say, hi, my name's Steve. I run a startup called Roadmap MBA. Would you like to buy one of our courses? We're here to help empower communities, grow, learn, and develop. But the issue is, if I approach one person who could realistically buy one course, 5 courses, okay, that might actually drive a small amount of revenue and you're helping to support 1 or 2 people. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and that's important to do. But the irony is to make a startup sustainable. If you've ever actually read the book 0 to 1 by a guy called Peter Thiel is a really famous startup kind of guru. But essentially what he talks about is that you want to aim for the absolute moonshot highest thing that you can, because chances are with startups, 99% fail. and probably less than 1% ever actually make it to the billion-dollar unicorn, sustainable, profitable business that gets there. And the point is, if you, I say, half-arse your approach, almost if within your approach you always play it safe and go for the small options, the small wins, it's actually very difficult to make it and actually survive. So actually, if you go and aim for the 100x opportunities, for that same conversation, if within the next 8 hours you could realistically have 15 conversations with different people, there's a good chance that you could have 15 conversations and maybe 3, 5 might buy a product, which actually could maybe bring in, I don't know, £1,000 worth of revenue. But the issue is, a one-off £1,000 won't necessarily help you build a world-class startup if you have ambitions to be here. So actually, if you can have 15 conversations, but if one of them lands, but that could be, for instance, one of our strategies is that we know that we can't outcompete any of the other big, well-established business education providers with $1 billion in revenue, because we don't have the cash they do, we don't have the reach they do, etc. So rather than trying to play their game, the way that this has been set up and the way that we're able to offer a very high quality but free business course is because essentially we have very low overheads, and it's how we've kind of built it. But there's a huge community goal and benefit where essentially if you're an organization that has community goals in mind, so you could be, for instance, Google. Google will spend millions of pounds every year on community projects to help different people from different backgrounds. They have something called Google Digital Garage, which is about digital skills. But the idea is Google has, well, everyone on the internet, but they have a reach of hundreds of millions of people, that if you can find a partnership where Roadmap could partner with Google or Facebook or Microsoft or Bloomberg or Duolingo or whoever, the potential, that could be 10,000x what we could ever do on our own. So almost my goal as the startup founder is, rather than chase these small opportunities, which, yes, it's nice if you get a small amount of income, but it won't necessarily help us get to where we need to be. So actually my focus isn't actually on selling courses to 10 people. Because actually, although that's great for a small business, when you have ambitions to literally help 5 billion people, I need to find the 100x, the 1000x opportunities and actually have those conversations. Because actually, if we could partner with, say, Meta, so we've learned how to film our education in 360. So if you've got a headset, it can feel like you're in the room, actually sat in that chair. So that as we grow, learn and develop, the hope is that with Apple's new headset and where things might be in 5-10 years, a VR classroom environment could be a huge thing. But likewise, if you are a Meta or a Facebook and you've invested billions in your Meta Quest product, partnering with someone like Roadmap could actually be a free app for their platform, gives us some funding, but it's the reach to everyone on Facebook. Facebook has billions of people on the platform. That would be a 1000x opportunity that actually could change our fortunes with a single conversation, in a way that if you're a startup founder, if it's right for you, seek out the huge moonshot opportunities. It's the huge opportunities which can just revolutionize everything over and above single 1x interactions, sales, whichever, which actually they might help you in the short term, but it's all about finding the opportunities and getting the most impact, the most bang for your buck on your time. And that's something that we're really looking to do as well. The other flip side for us is that with the course, obviously we provide business education, but it is the community element of what we're looking to do. We're looking to help people around the world that otherwise don't have access to traditional business education or training. But that's why we're actually primed to work really well with charities. So I won't name them, but there's quite a few that we're talking to at the moment, where essentially charities could support 1 million people a year, and especially if it relates to entrepreneurship, personal development, youth development, education, entrepreneurship, careers. We can offer completely free support to the charity, But actually, if we can offer support to their community and they have 1 million people, the charity wins because essentially it helps them with their aim and goal that they get to support the people they want to support better. But for us, it's a way to get 1,000 users or 1 million users on the platform without actually, we could never do that organically with paid ads or whichever. It would just take forever. And essentially it's through partnerships like that. It's social good, but it's also a USP that we can do, which aligns with our mission and our purpose. That the point of the video is just to consider chasing moonshot opportunities that might never come off, but you only need to land one of these for every 1,000 conversations. Because actually you could have the same 1,000 conversations to individuals or people that can't buy the product or can only buy one of the products, but it never really gets you to there, and it all depends on what your aims, goals and ambitions are. It was just something that I wanted to mention because it's a key part of what we're doing as part of our strategy for the business. It might be interesting to you, it might not be relevant. It won't be relevant to every business. If you have a B2B product or service, essentially you probably won't have the opportunity for moonshots. You might do, but this again depends on what type of business you are. Essentially at 9:31, I think I'm going to kind of call it quits there. I do appreciate everyone's time and support for the different stuff that we do. We ourselves are a tiny little business. It's one person. I do my best, and it's all again about trying to make a real difference in the world. It can be quite difficult to get up and present once a week or once every 2 weeks and just almost find the things to talk about. But essentially it's because I kind of believe in the mission. I know the impact that we want to have in the world. And essentially what we're looking to do is support people around the world that don't have access to traditional forms of business education or training. If you can afford to go to Harvard, do it. It's amazing. If you can afford it, go to LSE or Oxford or Durham or Newcastle University Business School. They are all fantastic education providers and they will give you a great rounded business education. We exist largely for people that can't access that, or they work around the job and they just want to make a real impact and actually just help make more money quickly. And that's where we sit as opposed to what the other guys kind of cover. Hi Chris, thank you for commenting. Keep up the work as well. Chris is a great example. He's a fantastic photographer. If you check out Pattern, Chris, feel free to drop in the chat your link if you want. But something that I've spoke about in the past is that at a certain point in your career, the hope is that you find something that you love to do and you would actually do it, even if nobody ever tuned in, nobody paid you to do it, but you just love doing it. That's hopefully, I believe, where Chris is. It's certainly where I am. Again, Chris is the first person to comment today, but I still enjoy creation. I love doing stuff, but actually it's still part of the bigger mission. This all could fail. It could, nobody cares, never gets traction. But for me personally, as a goal for the business, is that I've set a goal, an ambition. I want to try my best to see if I can help people and actually just create something which adds value to the marketplace, of the world. If it doesn't, that's fine. At least I've tried. But it's just one of those things that genuinely, Chris, I appreciate it. And check out Pattern, which is one of Chris's kind of projects as well. So on that one, I am going to kind of call it quits. It is Friday at 9:34. My name's Steve. If you check out roadmapmba.com, we are basically an online education provider. We provide free business education, and the whole point is you can be based anywhere in the world. We've got users in Kenya, China, Ukraine, Afghanistan that you can help learn, grow and develop to help you launch that business, make that business a success or get promoted in your career. And that's kind of why we exist. So have a wonderful Friday, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll hopefully speak soon. All right, cheers guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.